Hello everybody, this is Seto Kaiba from your Yu-Gi-Oh! Chat channel, and today I'm going to profile another old school deck for you guys. Uh, Original Gravekeepers, how they were originally meant to run. And so first let's go over the card list. We ran, back in the day, the original boss monster of the deck was Chief, so we ran 2 Chiefs, 3 Assailants, 3 Spear, 3 Spy, 2 Guard, 1 Breaker, 1 Cyber Jar, 1 Morphing Jar, 1 Magician of Faith, 1 Sinister Serpent, 1 Change of Heart, 3 Magical Reflectors, 1 Mystical Typhoon, 1 Giant Trune, 3 Necro Valley, 3 Terraforming, 1 Book, 1 Greed, 3 Rights, 3 Raigeki Breaks, 1 Ring of Destruction, 1 Torrential Tribune, and 2 Wabukus. So first thing I'd like you to take away from this is this deck was made in 2005. Gravekeepers came out in the Pharaoh's Servant. It was the 7th set ever to come out in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now I know that's probably like, damn, that's a long time ago. Yeah, it's a long time ago. The 7th set is when this Gravekeepers were introduced to Yu-Gi-Oh! They're a very interesting group, but back then, originally what Gravekeepers were meant to do was to swarm the field. And you have to remember that Gravekeepers originally did not have a lot of their great cards that they do now, or they did when they were in their prime. That being Recruiter, Descendant, Steely, Commandant, Visionary, if you want to include him in there. Stuff like that did not exist. Things like Royal Tributing your opponent did not exist really. Yes, you could do it, but pretty much you were hurting yourself at the same time because you didn't have Steely. You sent your spy to the graveyard. You sent your, these guys to the graveyard. You're not getting them back. There's no way unless you use Rite of Spirit. That's the only way. So I want you to understand that. Second off, this deck is built on cards that can still be played in traditional format. But let me explain to you the cards. So pretty much you have Assailant because you know what Assailant does. You have Spear because you know what he does. He's a Piercer. But these two are your main attack monsters. Spy was your Searcher. You flipped up Searched. And she was your Defender as too. Chief helped you bring back other Gravekeepers that you had and attack for games. Guard was not as good back then. Guard pretty much was for big monsters and royal tribute summons. Breaker was too good to pass up, and Mystical Typhoon back in 2005, 2004 was only at 1. So you only could use 1. So you ran Breaker because it was a 19 attack stick and because he could be used as an MST thing. Cyberjar was good there because it helped you get monster cards out, stuff like that, both players then pick up 5 cards, stuff like that. Morphing Jar is because this card would get bad hands sometimes. Magician of Faith was too good to pass up because you wanted your Necro Valley back if it got destroyed. Or you could use Change of Heart, or we use Book of Moon. Book of Moon I only used 1 of because I only owned 1 at the time. Sinister Serpent equaled a continuous combo. If you had Raigeki Break, you could pretty much just use Raigeki Break, Sinister Serpent, Raigeki Break. That's just awesome. You could also use it if you were using Hollow Life Barrier too, which was in the side deck, and I sometimes ran in the main. So sometimes he would come out and in. Change of Heart, self-explanatory. You could use it to get Chief and whatnot out by using another opponent's monster. Magic Reflector was in there because we didn't want Necro Valley to get destroyed so easily. MST, Giant Trune was there to help create, OTKs because back then, Giant Trune was at 1 at the time, and people, because MST, Heavy Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, were all limited or banned, and the only thing you pretty much has one MST and Dust Tornado, if I remember correctly. I don't think Heavy Storm. I think Heavy Storm at the time was banned. heavy storm was. But so it was really hard to clear your opponent's back row, and traps were so pain in the ass. But you ran 3 Necro Valley, you know why. Terraforming to search for Necro Valley. Book is versatile. Greed for draw. Right to bring cards back. Regeki destroyed annoying little monsters that the opponent had. Ring of Destruction could end games, though it was too good of a card to pass up back then. Torrential Tribune could clear my opponent's field, and Wabuku gave me some stalling power to set plays up. Side decked, ran 2 Royal Tributes just in case. I mostly sided against Exodia decks. Catlaville Omen was not too bad. You have to remember side decks back then was pretty much making your deck stronger against different decks. It's a lot different than it is today, really. Barrel Behind the Door was very useful, actually, especially with Ring of Destruction. Cannon Holder was very good. It was situational, but I still ran it in the side deck. Dust Tornado, because back row was just annoying back then as hell because you really had no way of getting rid of it. I explained to you Hollow Life Barrier why, and Magical Cylinder was the final card I ran one of, because it was that one at the time. So that's the deck. You can use this deck in traditional format, but this is just like originally what Gravekeepers originally looked like back in 2004, 2005, because they didn't have all those great cards. And also take away from this video that older decks that could be low tier 2 or just tier 2, can, if Konami wants to, be brought up to tier 1 or higher up on the list later on in their careers. Even though this deck was out for a long time, and it wasn't until 2010, almost 5 years later, that this deck really became prevalent in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of the Royal Tribute combo and the starter deck coming out. So, believe me, if they did this with Dark Worlds when they were in GX, not too a long time later did they really become amazingly great. You know, amazingly broken, that is, even though they were broken in the beginning. But look, Konami does support their old archetypes. You have to remember this. Look at Harpies recently, Harpies cards, Archfiends, stuff like that. Old decks can still get support. Never say never. If you never know when Konami's going to toss you a bone and make your deck amazingly good. But till next time, everybody, take care. Seto Kaiba, out.